Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a webinar on understanding quality control order and the associated BIS schemes. I am Pragati Bhojak and I will be your moderator for today's session. We have an exciting and informative agenda lined up, so let's get started. For those joining us for the first time, I'll begin with the introduction on Vincular's business profile. Vincular started its operation in 2012 and is India's leading regulatory compliance consulting company. We cater to brands, manufacturers, and their subsidiaries, both domestically and internationally, serving as their dedicated compliance partner. We offer solutions that simplify covering the horizon of electronics, IT, telecommunication, medical to cosmetics, etc. Our scope includes services like BIS-CRS, BIS-ISI, TEC, WPC, waste management, PESO, and many more. Next slide, please. The next slide is a glimpse of services we offer under our umbrella. You may have a look at the same. Now, before proceeding towards the agenda, we would like to share a list of our website blogs prepared on QCOs. You can also access the latest regulatory compliance insights at no cost through our various compliance collaterals. First is the newsletter, which is published on monthly and quarterly basis. Second is the publication space for instant coverage on regulations. The third, we have a dedicated WhatsApp channel where you can find all our collaterals available on different platforms in a single post. All the links have been shared with you over the chat box. Please access from there. Also, after this webinar, we will extend the entire presentation deck and the webinar recording to all the participants over email. Now let's move on to the agenda. Next slide, please. Our agenda includes overview of DPIIT, about quality control order, BIS-ISI mark certification process, Vincular scope of work, why Vincular, and a small Q&A session at the end. Now I hope I am audible. Please put a thumbs up if I am audible. Now let me introduce you to our esteemed speaker. We have Mr. Varghese Joy, a seasoned professional, concluded his nearly 4-decade-long career at BIS, where he played a crucial role in diverse activities. His extensive expertise spans various product certification schemes and system certifications, with the focus on products such as switchgears and others. Specifically trained in electrical product testing at CPRI laboratories by BIS, Mr. Varghese was instrumental in formulating policies during the mandatory certification of transformers introduction. Additionally, he spearheaded the implementation of the smart paperless registration system at BIS, significantly benefiting both the industry and the organization. Before his retirement, Mr. Varghese successfully launched the smart registration system and played a pivotal role in streamlining the management system certification at BIS. Introducing several innovative schemes during his tenure, his professional endeavors extended to visiting numerous industries and collaborating with standards formulation organizations like DIN and DKE. Furthermore, he represented India in ISO committees, contributing to the formulation of international standards. Mr. Varghese holds a degree in electrical engineering and a postgraduate diploma in business management. Welcome, Mr. Varghese. Next, we have Mr. Gaurav, Senior Manager at Vincular, who brings over 8 years of experience in product compliance services. In his role, he is tasked with an efficient oversight of diverse business units, including waste management, ISI mark certification, public policy and licensing, legal metrology, PESO, among others. Gaurav holds a degree in electronics and communication engineering and has completed his MBA in operations management. Welcome, Mr. Gaurav. Next slide, please. I'll now hand it over to Mr. Varghese Joy to kickstart our presentation. Mr. Varghese, the floor is yours.
Good morning to all of you. I hope you can hear me. Please react if you can hear me. Yeah, for some of them, actually, it may be a good evening. So good evening to you also. In the last 3 months, we have organized 3 programs. So I take this opportunity to congratulate the Vincular team for organizing such programs. These type of programs definitely go a long way in understanding the QCOs, its implications, and how we should prepare for it and what we should do. This particular program, in this today, we are planning to give an overall idea about the quality control orders issued recently, which is going to be implemented from September 2024 onwards. And to give you an idea that what you should do or what can be the implications if you don't do. Next slide, please. In India, we have different type of certifications. And basically, all these certifications can be categorized into 2. One voluntary, the other is mandatory. Voluntary certification is one where there is no legal frame. Anybody who is interested in getting a license, if there is a product license, they can apply and get the certification license for that and start using the mark on their products. But mandatory certification is slightly different. This particular seminar itself is organized because the legal frame on the mandatory certification is slightly modified. Mandatory certification is one where by Government of India's initiative or orders that the products which are manufactured in India or products which are imported to India or marketed or sold or stocked in India shall be under a license and shall carry the ISA mark or the registration mark, whatever is being specified. In the case of this new QCO, which has been issued, Bureau of Indian Standards is the certification authority authorized by the government department. There are various reasons for issuing such mandatory certifications. There can be issues related to the safety of human, the safety of animal, health of the plant, environment safety, and unfair trade practices. There can be various reasons by which Government of India or any department can initiate a compulsory certification in India. Next slide. Even though the QCOs are issued by various ministries or various other departments, statutory departments, including actually Bureau of Indian Standards, which have been empowered to issue the QCOs. The Department of Industry, the DPIIT, is the one department which coordinates and promotes the industry in India as well as the trade. So we are closely interacting with this department. Even BIS is very closely interacting with the department. Also with various other standards developing organization, DPIIT is very closely associated as well as organizing various programs to interact and get feedback on the quality control orders issued or the standards being developed and implemented. So this DPIIT is an important department in India. Next. As I mentioned, if any QCO is issued and implemented, the implication of that is that no product can be manufactured in India or can be imported to India without the compliance to the required standard. Not only it should comply with the related Indian standard, which can be an equivalent international standard also, but it should also carry the certification mark of the certification body for which it has been authorized. In the case of the QCOs, which we are discussing today, Bureau of Indian Standard is the certification body, which is a statutory body, has been authorized to certify the organizations to mark the products with their standard mark. And after the date, the implementation date, there could be various scenarios that products which have been manufactured earlier, products which are on the transit, products which have been manufactured, which has been imported to India and in stock. So these are the situations which we will deal later, and how we can counter this and what can be done with this at a later date. Next. If the quality control order issued by the ministry, if it is applicable to you, and if it is not complied with, it can be called a violation of the Act. Violation of the Act means there can be three ways that you can be considered that you are not implementing the Act as well as a violation of the Act. It attracts the legal implications. Number one, that your product which is manufactured, the product which have been categorized by any one of them, you are manufacturing that and is not complying with the standard, but you still continue to sell these products in India. It's definitely a violation of the requirement, a violation of the Act. This is number one. Number two, even if you are given a license and the license is being used or the mark is being used on a product which you do not comply with the product standard, it is also considered a violation of the requirements. Number three, you can, if there is a usage of the standard mark, whatever has been specified by the Bureau of Indian Standards, if it is ISA mark or the registration mark, if it is whatever has been specified by the BIS, if it is used on a product or on a variety, even though you have the license, but the variety is not covered in the license, this will also be considered as a violation of the Act and is definitely attract the legal implications. So these are the three forms of violations which can take place, and there can be various types of penalty can be imposed by the Bureau of Indian Standards. You can go to the next slide. Penalty will include, first of all, if you are a licensee, the cancellation of the license. Second, if the application, you are an application will be on hold till the case is resolved. And if you are penalized, then the application will be closed. Even after the cancellation of the license, if you are penalized, then there will be a cooling period of minimum 1 year before you apply again. And BIS has got the provisions to take it to the legal courts in India. If there is a contravention of the Act with the evidence, they will file a case and the penalty can be imposed to the extent of 5 lakhs plus 2-year imprisonment or any one of them, depending upon the amount or quantum of misuse or violation of the Act. So to avoid all these penalties, to avoid all these complications, we are having this seminar to see that the information is disseminated in advance and people who should be prepared in well in advance so that these kind of unpleasant things can be completely avoided. Next. You must also know that the BIS has got the powers is to search and seize the products which are not complying with the standard or which are not carrying the mark, even or even after the date of implementation in any place. So they get the information from various sources, and they can conduct a search and seizure, and that will ultimately lead to the manufacturer as well as the stockist, and both will be held responsible for the violation of the act. As of today, BIS has got more than 22,000 standards are being formulated, even though they formulated more than maybe 35,000 standards, many standards have been withdrawn. So as on today, the valid standards are around 22,400, out of which 9,000 plus standards are for product. And we in BIS are operating more than 55,000 licenses on various categories, on various products, on various schemes. It's not only one product certification itself, we have many schemes. So a number of licenses have been issued under the various schemes. As of now, only 451 standards are mandatory, that is compulsorily should have the license. And then there are many more, like 226 quality control orders are in the pipeline. So Government of India is considering to make it mandatory for many products. And over a period of time, step by step, I think they are issuing the quality control orders. Okay, next. If you look at the QCO, which we are having the seminar, there are 10 products. Out of these 10 products, the first five are for water heaters, different type of water heaters. And two are for water meters. Another two is for domestic electrical appliances like fan and toasters, and one is for asbestos. So if you look at these standards, these are some of the 302 Part 2 is a safety standard. These standards are having requirements sometimes is much more than the international standard. Because what I'm saying is that even if it complies with some of the international standard, it may not be complying with the Indian standard, because some requirements are additional requirements in this, like leakage current. And then like leakage current requirement is definitely different in India being a tropical country. And some of the requirements like and operations under the abnormal operations are definitely typical to the Indian conditions. So we should be totally informed about the standard and requirements, and see that actually your product complies with all requirement of the standard. For example, actually, I will just take one of the requirements given in this IS 302, and that's why the reason I am saying that the safety is given a lot of importance in this. There's an abnormal requirement. If a product is subjected to an abnormal operation like higher voltage, or operated without water, or operated under abnormal conditions, there is no problem that after the operation, if the equipment does not work, standard says no problems. But if it is tested for leakage or shock after it is operated for abnormal conditions, it definitely should not give a shock. See, so even when it is failing, it should fail safe. Fail safe principle is integrated in almost all of these standards. Maybe we will have exclusive detailed seminars on these products, which will definitely help you to understand these standards. I think once again, I take this opportunity to thank the Vincular team and all those people who are hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Verghese, for your time to share your knowledge with us. Your expertise and insights were truly enlightening. They added immense value to this discussion. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A section. We will address them during the end of the session. Following, we have Mr. Gaurav. You have the stage. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pragati. Hope I'm audible to everyone. Again, you can give a thumbs up for the same. Now, I would like to take you with the entire ISI mark certification scheme, their timeline, all the nitty-gritties involved in the same process, details about the on-site audit, mandatory requirements of the in-house testing laboratory and in-house manufacturing setup, and the overall process. So let's get started. During my presentation, I'll try and explain you about the high level introduction of the scheme, who can apply for the license, like who will be eligible for getting the certification from the Bureau of Indian Standards. What is Scheme 1? You might have heard many schemes like Scheme 1, Scheme 2, Scheme 4, Scheme 9, Scheme 10 of BIS. So BIS used to run various certification scheme. Out of that, scheme 1 belongs to the ISI mark certification scheme. Similarly, scheme 2, which is for the compulsory registration scheme and intended for the electronics and IT goods. Then we will also talk about the certification process, the details about the preliminary inspection, where the audit officer will do the due diligence at their level. What are the important points which we have to take care after obtaining the certification, and the Vincular scope of work around the same. Let's get started. Can we have the next slide, please? So with the introduction, the name ISI is nothing but an abbreviation of Indian Standards Institute, or you can say the former name of Bureau of Indian Standards. So right now, BIS has given a status of national standards body through the Parliament Act. So we all can call it BIS as national standards body. They have all the powers to make standards, make rules, regulations on environment, health, and safety related grounds to protect the citizens from all these three aspects. ISI mark is mainly intended for the industrial product, but now their scope has been a bit diversified, and we can see that their scope has also tried and reached to few of the household kitchen appliances, toys, MSME ministry level products, heavy ministry level products, and so on. So really in the coming days and years, we will see their scope will be more diversified, and they try to cover each and every small thing which can directly relates to the quality and safeguard of the citizens of the country. ISI, we all know right from our childhood age that it is one of the most recognized certification marks in the Indian subcontinent. And whenever we go and buy for any products, we always check, okay, this is ISI mark, so it will definitely be safe. And as our fellow panelist, Mr. Varghese, has already told you that this all quality control orders is the intent behind the same is to regulate it under the mandatory regime. So we have around a few hundreds of products which are under the mandatory regime. Few names, if I can take a name like electric motors, switch gears, PVC cables, wiring cables, heaters, all the kitchen appliances, toys, Portland cements, LPG cements, LPG valves, automotive tires, cylinders. These all are ISI marked and covered under the mandatory regime of Scheme 1 of Schedule 2 of BIS certification. Can we have next slide, please? Now, let's understand who can apply for the license. So the bottom line is very clear from the Bureau side that the one who is actually manufacturing the goods, only they can be eligible to apply for the license. So neither brand owner nor design owner, even not the importer, brand dealer, distributor, none of them are allowed to apply for the license. Only and only who is actually manufacturing the goods, they will be eligible for the application. And this scheme is the scheme is applicable for manufacturers of all the products except electronics and IT goods, which was notified by Ministry of Electronics and IT. So let's say if you are a manufacturer of a mobile phone, laptop, tablet, uh, computer, power adapter, and so on, then you have to undergo with another certification scheme that is called Scheme 2 of Schedule 2 of BIS Act. Right now, the one which we are talking about is the Scheme 1, which is majorly around the quality control orders. And the license is granted for a location centric. So let's say if I have a factory in India, say at Karnataka, so one license will be issued at that Karnataka location, that too very specific to the location or geographical coordinates wherever my factory belongs to. At the same time, if I have another factory, say in Haryana or Delhi, so I will have to obtain another license for that different location of the manufacturing unit. Similarly, if a factory is based out in foreign, say Taiwan, so if in one district X factory is there in Taiwan only, if we have Y factory at some other districts, other places, then also they have to apply for two different licenses. And the license will be issued only to the actual manufacturer who is producing the goods. Next, please. Now, Scheme 1, let's try to understand the nitty-gritties involved in Scheme 1. So, Scheme 1 is the one of the certification scheme of Bureau. Schedule 2 is nothing but the act and rules, or you can say the parameters, which talks about the framework of Scheme 1. So, if I have to collectively read it out, I will read it out. Scheme 1 of Schedule 2 of BIS Act 2018, where these all points have been categorically defined in a detailed manner, is a conformity assessment of goods and article, and majorly it is divided into two processes. So we have one set of factories which are locally based out in India. For that, we can call it a product certification scheme. In that product certification scheme, we again have two processes. One is the simplified, another is the normal. You can see on my screen. So simplified process where the product is not very much complex, and in past certification has already been granted by BIS, and there is a set process defined by the Bureau. So in order to extend the ease of doing business, government or the BIS gives a commitment to the applicant that the moment you will file the application in the BIS record, they will issue the license within 30 days from the day of filing the application in the BIS online portal. On the other side, we have another scheme called normal scheme for the under domestic manufacturers only. There, if we have any product which is like we are going for the first time all India first license application, or if we are going with any of the complex product whose nomenclature is bit complex and bit riskier, we have to do the due diligence at a greater level, then it can go with a normal process where we can have additional 1 month time to get the certification done. So in nutshell, we can say in simplified, from the day of filing the application, 30 days is the commitment from the Bureau. In the normal process, it can be 60 days, considering the complex nature of products, and if it is the All India first license. And for that, we have an online portal where applicant can file the submission. Now, on the other side, we have FMCS, Foreign Manufacturer Certification Scheme. Here, point to be noted that we don't have any online portal. Rather, applicant have to make the submission through hard copy mode only. So they have to prepare the application file with all the relevant documents which is required by the Bureau, and everything will be clubbed and submitted to the BIS branch office or head office in the hard copy format only. Now, in the intent of extending ease of doing business for the domestic manufacturers, BIS used to give some fee waiver, fee relaxation for the micro, small and medium enterprises, considering their annual turnover. At the same time, if you are a foreign manufacturers, by default, you will be considered as large scale and there will be no fee relaxation being extended to you. Also in FMCS, we have one of the mandatory criteria is nomination of authorized Indian representative as per the prescribed format. So this is also extremely important point. So expectation is the factory who is actually manufacturing the goods, they are based out in outside country. So who will take ownership on behalf of the applicant if anything goes wrong at the later stage because of their products or because of the products which was placed by them in the Indian market. So the ownership and the first-hand authority lies with the AIR, authorized Indian representative, they are legally bound with the bureau to represent the factory and will be answerable for any such mishaps, any such questionings being asked by bureau officials. The timeline for under FMCS applicants will be approx 4 to 6 months. This all depends on the prompt response from the factory side. If factory is very much prompt in order to provide all the relevant documents, this timeline can be 4 months. And if there will be some delay or some preparations would be required, then this timeline may go to 5 or 6 months, depending on the response from the other party. We would also like to brief you a very important point here pertaining to the product certification as well as the foreign manufacturer certification scheme, that in-house test laboratory and in-house manufacturing setup is extremely important. The moment you will say yourself a manufacturer, it is expected that you have a valid or you have a complete testing as well as manufacturing infrastructure present in your premises. So manufacturing premises is something which we find it obvious in all such manufacturing plants because they are responsible for producing the goods. So raw material is something which they can procure from their any vendors who are in the pipeline. But when it comes to mandatory in-house test laboratory, it is mandatory to have it in their premises so that small level quality control and quality checks can be done by the factory at different levels so that any non-compliant products should not get produced. So let's say if any Indian standards talk about certain control units, that if any X test has to be done every hour, if any Y test has to be done once in a day, if I have a Z test that has to be done once in a week, and there could be many other tests who would be needing once in 15 days or once in a month. So those frequencies should be is listed in the Indian standard, and those in-house test laboratory supports to fulfill these quality level tests to ensure that products whatever being produced, that is of good quality and following the Indian standards norm. Now, for this in-house laboratory, there are some relaxations, there are some outsourcing provisions, which is again extended to the domestic manufacturers as compared to the foreign manufacturers. Foreign manufacturer can also try for the relaxation, but they obviously have to go with more rigorous process, more rigorous scrutiny, and the valid reason should also be around the same in order to get some relaxations. In general, FMCA should not, applicants under FMCA should not be given relaxations for majority of the outsourcing as compared to domestic manufacturers can do that outsourcing through any of the BIS approved laboratory. Next, please. Yeah. So let's try to understand about the certification process, a detailed certification process. So first, we have taken a case of a domestic applicant who is based out in India, and they wanted to apply for the ISI mark certification. So as a first step, we obviously would be needing the product catalog and or technical literature of the product in order to review and assess the suitable Indian standard which may be applicable on their products. The moment we will identify the suitable Indian standard, we will also get to know that that particular Indian standard either is in voluntary scheme where it is optional for obtaining the license, or it is in the mandatory regime. So we have also seen the trend that people used to go for the ISI certification when it is in the voluntary scheme, just to increase their goodwill in the market, just to get an edge as compared to other competitors, other manufacturers, that yes, my product is ISI certified as compared to other products which are of similar nature available in the market. So let's say we identified the Indian standard. We also get to know it is voluntary or mandatory. Then as a next step, applicant needs to register its organization details over the online portal, that is e-Manak online portal, where applicant have to create their profile. This facility is only open for the domestic manufacturers, not applicable for the foreign manufacturers. Post creation of the profile, application has to be filed. Now, while making the application, we also have to keep things in mind that we either have to have an in-house test report from in-house laboratory. If that is not feasible, then same test report can be procured from any of the BIS impaneled laboratory, but then also requirement of mandatory in-house test laboratory will remains as it is, and they have to comply with those regulations. So let's take in a scenario where applicant have an in-house laboratory and they generated the report from their in-house laboratory only. So application will be prepared along with their in-house test report, and there are certain other documents like details of the quality control people, details of the overall map of the manufacturing unit. What are the machineries involved in manufacturing? What are the machinery involved in the testing? What are the warehouse options they have? Does the warehouse is shaded or open? All these things will be duly checked, and their supporting documents will be enclosed for making the application file and will be uploaded on the relevant sections. The form along with the application fee has to be paid to the online portal. The moment it will be paid, we also have to remit the audit fee and traveling expenses for the inspection. Post these fees, be records, and from there onwards, I get it filed simply teaser. Then clock will be started days coming from the bureau side. As a first step, one of the nearest branch officer will be designated. Let's take a scenario if my factory belongs to Karnataka region. So the officer designated or subject matter expert from the BIS Karnataka branch office, Bangalore branch office will be designated for the task. They will primarily scrutinize the application, and if there will be any query, same will be communicated over the online portal. Post rectifying those initial level queries, audit date will be identified, will be concluded on a mutually agreed terms, availability of both the parties. The moment audit date will be identified, officer will come down to the applicant's facility, will verify all the claims made by the applicant in detail. So let's take a situation if I, being the applicant, claim that I have a quality control people for these many tests and they have qualifications like they are BSc in chemicals or MSc in chemicals. So all their educational qualifications, all their competencies pertaining to Indian standards testing have to be checked, duly verified. All the claims, all the machinery details, all the test machinery details, competency of people, where you are stacking your products in the warehouse, what are the methods you are forming, details of the top management, technical management, everything will be checked. Once the officer will be satisfied with the audit, they will take few random samples for the independent testing, seal it, sign it, and keep it there. Then officer comes back, and on the next day when he or she submits the audit reports to the bureau, then applicant receives another intimation through online portal that they have to dispatch the sealed and signed box for independent testing to any of the XYZ designated laboratory in order to verify the quality of the product. So earlier, whatever testing has been done, that is being done in the applicant's premises where the results can be manipulated. But once it will be sent it for the independent testing, it is expected that results cannot be manipulated and their due diligence or the quality of the products will be duly checked. The moment lab will give the test results in the favor of the applicant, BIS used to issue the license which can be used for further proceedings. Now, if you are if you have applied for a simplified procedure, then you could able to get the license on just after the factory audit. The moment factory audit will successfully done, thereafter on the next couple of days, you will get the license considering that 30 days commitment period. But if you applied for a normal process, then it will be done after the successful test results received by the bureau from any of the designated laboratory. Next, please. Now, let's try and understand the certification process for the foreign manufacturer. So we tried and categorized the entire foreign manufacturer certification process in 6 to 7 steps, where step number 1 is mainly identification of the suitable Indian standard, as well as talks about the pre-conformance quality check of your product. So we all know in FMCS process, the officer have to fly down to the factory location, and there are many rigorous efforts involved. So to channelize those efforts in a constructive way, we always recommend our clients to have the pre-conformance check in order to ensure that their product, the quality, everything is inclined as per the norms of the Indian standard. So identification of the Indian standard code, then collection of the test sample from the applicant. This is only and only for the pre-conformance check. Nothing is like mandatory. If you are sure about your product's quality, then we can certainly skip this particular point. Then testing of sample at the Indian designated laboratory and issuance of the test report for the purely for the applicant's reference purpose. Purely for the applicant's own records. Let's say if anything goes wrong in their product, so they can take any corrective measures, they can take corrective steps by taking this test reports as a reference. So in step number 1, in general, we will conclude the suitable Indian standard. Then we'll go for a internal test report from the in-house test laboratory, which will be submitted to the bureau along with the application file. Compiling of all required documents. Documents will more or less remain same, like the details of the quality people, details of the top management, technical management, machinery details, calibration test certificates of all the machineries. All calibrations should not be older than 90 days. In some cases, it can be older in 120 to 180 days. So those things will be duly checked and verified. The map from the nearest railway station, the location map from the nearest airport, the location map from the nearest bus stop, that everything will be supplied to the bureau officer, so that tomorrow, once you will get the license, they can randomly come to your place as well for any surprise visits, any surveillance audits as well. So compiling of all required documents along with the application file and in-house test reports will be clubbed and submitted to the BIS office in hard copy format, along with the suitable application fee in US dollars only. So here the point to be noted, irrespective of the fact whether you are based out in any of the foreign countries, you have to make the payments in US dollars only. By clubbing all those documents, the application will be submitted to the BIS office and will be communicated to the applicant through a email, where applicant will get an acknowledgement number. Next, please. So with that acknowledgement number, only further communication will take place between the applicant and the bureau officer. Once applicant will receive the acknowledgement number, thereafter again a officer will be designated or appointed for the said case, who will do the preliminary scrutiny of the application, and if they have any queries or concerns, same will be communicated to the applicant, this time through official email IDs only. So whatever email ID is being supplied by the applicant side, on that email, applicant can expect that email communication will take place from the BIS side. Whatever non-conformities, whatever shortfalls will be identified by bureau officer during preliminary scrutiny, same should rectify the application side. The applicant can decide for the on-site officer. The moment audit date will be identified, then applicant extend the support to facilitate the visa, ticket, lodging, and boarding. Although these facilities will be taken care by the designated agency of the Bureau of Indian Standards, still applicant belongs to that particular country. So being local, they have to extend those support in order to facilitate these things in a proper, effective way. Like for visa, they have to send the invitation letter to the BIS so that visa can be granted by the concerned embassy. Similarly, for the lodging, maybe applicant that the BIS designated agency can try and book the hotels, book the flights and other things accordingly. Once the officer will fly down to the location, they will do the physical verification of the factory where they will check the entire assembly line of the factory. Is it running or not? What type of products you are being manufactured? Have to taken consideration into the scope of products, whatever being manufactured or under the mandatory, or you have inclination to sell it in the market. Again, the manufacturing records, manufacturing machinery, machinery, everything will be checked. All infrastructure will be verified as per the norms mentioned in and the and scheme of testing and inspection, which is a reference document from the bureau officer side. Team will set up quality control process, everything. They will ask the quality control people to do certain tests as per the Indian standard formats, and will also check and verify the results. Those results are in the limited parameters as framed by BIS or not. Once officer will get satisfied with the audit, again they will pick some random sample to be tested in any of the BIS approved laboratory under the independent testing procedure. Now in step 4, once the officer will submit their audit report to the branch office or the head office, then they will again receive an email communication stating that they have to send the sealed and signed sample to any of the designated laboratory for independent testing. And then we have to wait for the test results. If the test results are in our favor, then obviously we will go ahead with the step number 5. If the test results will not in our favor, then if there will be some major gaps, then application may get rejected. If there will be very minor gap which can be corrected through some small level changes, then it will be expected that applicant have to make those small level changes. Can we have next slide, please? So in step number 5, as I told you, if any small non-conformities will be identified by the inspection officer during their factory visit, should be rectified by the applicant in a stipulated time. Submit the proof of rectification. It is also important. Let's say if officer has identified anything is not there. Let's take example, if any pipette is not there, if any funnel is not there, if any particular test instrument is not there. So everything has to be procured, and the documentary evidence, the video evidence has to be submitted to the BIS to make them satisfied. Okay, this particular shortfall has been rectified by the applicant. Then they have to pay the annual marking fee. This annual marking fee is important for everybody. This annual marking fee is kind of, you can treat it as a royalty which will be paid to the bureau as you are encashing the goodwill of the ISI mark, and this way you are placing more and more products in the India market. So it is expected from you that you pay some royalty to the bureau in order to utilize this prestigious ISI mark. And this marking fee will also decide the validity of the certificate which you are expecting from the BIS. So if you will pay the marking fee for 1 year, the validity will be 1 year. If you wanted to pay the marking fee for 2 years, the validity will be 2 years. Max, you can pay for 2 years in the very beginning. Later, it can be renewed for 5 years as well. And the next important point is the bank guarantee of US dollars 10,000 has to be paid to the BIS. Now, this bank guarantee will be a security money which will be in BIS records, that if anything goes wrong because of your product, or if your product gets misbehaved or any harm to the citizens of the country, then this US dollars 10,000 will be forfeited and will be utilized for empowering those people who get harmed because of your product. Last and final step will be the grant of license. Once you will go through with all the processes like payment of the marking fee, submission of the bank guarantee of US dollars 10,000, etc., then grant of license will be considered by the competent authority after scrutiny of required documents. When I say scrutiny, this time they will scrutinize the test results submitted by the test laboratory, verification of the same by BIS to its satisfaction as per the Act, as per the rules and regulations or the framework mentioned in the Schedule 2. Depending on the marking fee amount, the license will be issued to you. It may be 1 year or it may be 2 years max. Further, once the renewal will be approaches, you can get it renewed maximum up to 5 years. Again, the same will depend on the number of years of marking fee which you wanted to pay to the bureau. Next, please. These are the few important preliminary inspection related point, like preliminary inspection, as I to convey to you, that carried out on a mutually agreed date within a month of recording of application. So recording of application means the moment application will placed in record and you will get an acknowledgement number from the bureau side over email that your application is received, and this is the email acknowledgement number for further communication. Thereafter, we have to you can expect a preliminary scrutiny followed by inspection date can be identified by both the parties. During the inspection of the firm, manufacturing capabilities will also be checked. Let's say if I claim that I can produce this many quantities in a day, in a week, in a month, or in a year, so everything will be checked through those past historical data. So it is expected that applicants should maintain and have those historical data in their records, which can justify the claims made by the applicant in order to obtain the license. Equipment setup is also important, like all machinery should be in place. Quality control techniques should be as defined in the Indian standard. There could be some places where these techniques can also be taken from American standard, from Japanese standard, or from any of the ICs or any other corresponding standard. So in those cases it is permitted, but wherever no outsourcing, no such outsourcing will be mentioned, then it is expected that you will go ahead and follow the norms as mentioned in the Indian standard only. Testing facilities should be there. Technical skills of staff should be as per the Indian standard, and other necessary parameters will be evaluated during the preliminary inspection or factory visit. Once conclusion of the factory visit, samples are being tested within the premises as well, just to check the technical competency of the quality control people, and also samples are drawn for independent testing in any of the designated BIS laboratory. During the preliminary inspection, again, as I told you, scheme of testing and inspection is discussed with the applicant's management, because STI and product manual is considered as the reference document for the bureau officials in order to conduct any of the factory inspection. Next slide, please. So these are few of the important points, that the time duration of 3 months is fixed for investigation. So let's say if any complaint is being invoked by any of the consumer or any of other parties against the products which is ISI certified, then the investigation will be initiated and same has to be concluded within 3 months, and that report will be given to the head office of the bureau. And if anything, any non-conformity will be identified, then same will be communicated to the applicant as well, and corrective steps will be taken. If it is a minor gap, they may have to undergo with some penalties or temporary suspension. If there will be some major gaps in terms of the quality of the products, it can be a permanent suspension of the license as well. Second point is, manufacturer or applicant has to ensure that major raw material should either be ISI or globally certified. So expectation is, wherever the raw materials are separately, individually notified in the gazette order, then there is no other way. You have to procure the raw materials as per ISI certification norms only. If there is no such guidelines mentioned for any particular raw materials, then it is expected that at least it has to follow some norms globally, like IC certified, UL certified, VD certified, or any sort of global certification should be linked with those major raw materials, because those details, ultimately those raw materials will transform into the final finished goods. So raw materials quality is also important for the bureau officers physical visit. An action can be taken against the manufacturer if the product with ISI mark is in bad quality and not satisfactory, and a punishment of 1 year or a penalty or both can be imposed for misusing the ISI mark. So let's take a situation, if any product is not ISI mark, then also if anybody is using this prestigious mark, so they can be having imprisonment of 1 year or penalty or both as well. Next, please. So these few points which we have listed pertaining to the scope of work in order to carry out successfully the ISI mark certification scheme. So Team Vincular is well versed with the understanding of the standards and processes, collecting the relevant information from factory for proper documentation, understanding of the factory lab setup, and if there is any shortfall in the in-house, have those gaps fulfilled in terms of the in-house laboratory or in-house manufacturing setup. Managing the project end to end, obviously right from day one till getting the certification, everything will be well managed by the Vincular team. You don't have to worry about evaluation, testing, application preparation, filing, certification. Even we do extend supports to applicants in order to carry out the pre-conformance audit, so that their actual process should not be having any surprise elements later on. So in pre-conformance visits, pre-conformance audit, applicants can have at least sense of security, sense of safety, that whatever process being conducted by the Vincular representatives, that yes, whenever the actual audit will take place, nothing goes wrong in my application because it has already been evaluated by subject matter experts from the Vincular side. Then coordination with factory and BIS officials, again, that will be our responsibility. We will be taking care with that end to end. Thereafter, post-certification activities, like if any renewal is approaching, if any amendment is required, if any new regulation which may impact your existing certification or licenses, everything you can expect to be communicated from our side through our dedicated newsrooms or social media platforms, whatever being activated. Also, our people will reach out to you individually for those intimations whenever any renewal is approaching, any amendment has to take place, or any new regulation which may additionally impact your product portfolios. During this certification, if any representation will be required at the BIS level or any line ministries, it can be DPIIT, it can be Ministry of Consumer Affairs, it can be Ministry of Steel, Ministry of Chemicals, or anywhere. So we will extend that support as well. And if you want any XYZ product, again, around which the proper standards are not there, so we can definitely extend the support in order to have the standards in place. So we will work closely with the bureau officials to formulate the desired standards around your inquired product, so that you can able to apply for the prestigious ISI mark with the closest matching Indian standards. So this is about the Vincular's scope of work. Now I would like to hand it over to my colleague Pragati for further proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav, for sharing the detailed information and contributing to the effectiveness of this webinar. As Mr. Gaurav has already outlined Vincular's scope of work, if you're still not sure why Vincular is the right choice for you, let me help you with the answer. Vincular offers a single window to cater all your compliance requirements, faster time to market, reduced cost for conformity. Pan-India's presence enables swift coordination with regulators and customers, righteous and professional work practice, customer centricity. We have ex-government officials in our panel. We are also the active members of various industry organizations such as MATE, MATCOF, and CII, among others. Next slide, please. Also, we would like to highlight our exceptional business metrics. We have completed 25,000 plus projects till financial year 2023. We have 600 plus happy customers and 65 plus experts at your service. Now, let's move on to the Q&A session. We have received some interesting questions from the audience. After the mandate, so the first question is, after the mandatory date of QCO implementation, can we sell the product which are manufactured and imported before the mandatory date? I think Mr. Gaurav would be the right person to take this question.
Yeah, Pragati. Thank you for the question. So basically, if you refer the QCO guidelines released by the BIS, so it doesn't talks about anything that what happens if you have any existing inventory in place, if you have if you have imported anything on or before the deadline and it is lying in the warehouse or it is available in the shelf of down the stream. If you talk about scheme 2, which is governed by Ministry of Electronics and IT, there they have clearly clarified that if anything being landed in terms of the foreign shipments, then same can be placed in the Indian market without having the valid certification. And similarly for the domestic manufacturers, if it has been manufactured before the cutoff date, same can be placed in the Indian market without having the valid certification. But when it comes to scheme 1, there is no clear guidelines around this. So it is expected, or I would say to all my fellow audiences, that better you try and consume or exhaust all the inventories, whatever lying at your places on or before the deadlines, in the interest of effective implementation of the QCO and to avoid any random visits by the Bureau or any search and seizure conducted by the Bureau officials.
Let me add one point here. See, almost all these products have got other components which also require the conformity to the standard. For example, the water heaters, if you take, the heating elements have to conform to how to conform to ISO 4159. Then we have thermostats in that. That is also there's a separate standard. So it's not only testing of one product, it is product along with the components. If the components are ISA marked, then actually the issue doesn't come. But otherwise the testing time takes more. So it is necessary that a product is tested well in advance so that you are able to get the license well in advance. Secondly, if you have, suppose you have manufactured some products and already dispatched, which has reached India after the implementation date, one scenario. Second, you already imported product to India, which have not been sold, which is there in the stock, and which is not carrying the ISM mark, the second scenario. In both these situations, it is necessary that we should bring it to the notice of the DPIIT. DPIIT is the ministry which has issued these orders, plus the Bureau of Indian Standards, is seeking permission for these two things actually, where you have dispatched the product before the date and the product which are already in the stock. Maybe they may give a permission by disclosing how much quantity is available, or they may give a permission that it should be sold out or should be used in a particular period of time. But it is better, I think, you all should represent, because specific orders are required for each of these components, each of these QCOs. And the earlier one may not apply to all the QCOs because the ministries are different.
Thank you, Mr. Joy. Thank you, Gaurav. There is another question from the audience. I would request Mr. Varghese to help answer. And the question is like, BIS CRS has provided an exemption for importing sample products for demo research and development. How can the industry get the same exemption for BIS-ISI products as well? This is very much needed, as more than 500 plus products are coming under the ISI scheme now, and many are in pipeline. What is the approach to take here,
Yeah.
and whom should we request?
it is better actually you approach the Ministry of Consumer Affairs for this, because this is a very small quantity for the R&D work. It is not a large quantity for this for selling it in the Indian market. Small quantity for the R&D development in India or for testing, comparative testing, it will be allowed. Definitely to allowed, but it has to be, the permission has to be sought from the ministry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Varghese. And thank you, Manish. You have been answering to the audience question in the chat box. I hope all your queries have been addressed well by our team. We will reach out to you over email with the answers of your queries. Also, we will extend the entire presentation deck and the webinar recording to all the participants over email. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of today's webinar on quality control orders. We appreciate your active participation. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. Stay tuned for further webinars and updates. Also, don't forget to access our blogs on QCOs, newsletter, publications, and WhatsApp channel.